This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1134, and it's the Relevant Podcast. Here in Orlando, I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
He's still alive. He made it through his COVID. There in Nashville, artist, producer, mogul, Derek Miner.
What up, though?
And just down the road there, our managing editor, downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
And in LA, you know him from Social Club Misfits, new father, it's Marty.
What's up? Don't have kids.
It's been one of those weeks, huh?
Hey, we'll suck a lot out of you.
How many? Give me an average. Give me like a ballpark of. We're talking last 5 days. How much sleep total have you had?
Probably around like the last week, probably like 3 hours a night.
No,
you know, that's what I'm averaging. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just the first couple weeks. Just the first couple
Hey,
weeks.
check this out. It get a little bit better, but then it's almost like they trade. So they trade off like sleeping in for like waking up and doing stuff like just I'm just gonna keep it all right. Let's go and rip the Band-Aid off. Like my son, neither one of my sons have peed inside the toilet yet. Like in their 10 and 12, like they haven't done it. Like it's just
Derek.
there's not one time when it's just like it all goes into the toilet. It's just like it's on the wall, it's on the floor, it's on. Like how do you pee on the back of the toilet? Like I don't even know how. Like, it's like you remember that movie Wanted where they throw the bullet around the corner. Like it's like are you throwing pee around the back of the toilet to hit the back? Like how does it even get back there in such mass quantities and amounts?
Wow.
Like, so I'm just telling you right now, bro.
It doesn't end.
Don't do any house project until they're out of the house.
It's like when you have a new puppy. You like don't buy new rugs, new furniture until the So you're saying it goes from exhausting to just gross, like being a parent.
Yes, it's gross.
Okay,
Marty, do not buy any furniture for the next 12 years. I'm just letting you know right now.
Wow.
Whatever you have right now, just keep it. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, it is what it is, bro.
Do you think it's because you have two boys, though? Would it be easier
because
to have one
that
of
was
them?
not my experience. I have a boy. Just
have one
FYI.
kid.
So.
Seems a little easier.
I don't even know if it's one. I think it might be just my kids. Like, I don't know if it's
They
like
saw
child
you peeing on
rearing
the
in
back of a
general.
toilet one time, and ever since then, they've been going crazy.
It might just I'm being dramatic. They gonna hear this and they're gonna give it to me, but you know.
Dad, I don't do that. What the heck? My wallet got stolen. You know?
Listen, they're
Right. You gotta you know
You're
what I'm
talking
saying?
about me every single week. You know?
Marty, here's the good news. They're expensive, then they get gross, but at least all along the whole way, they're also very expensive. So it's fine. It's great.
Yeah, they are
You said
like
expensive
Target.
twice.
Like you guys know,
Yeah,
like
yes.
Target right now is going nuts. Like even though we have everything you could ever want, we still go to Target, and I'm still spending $250. And I don't want to get the cheap stuff. I want to get the Dr. Brown stuff, the good stuff. So everything is like one button here, and I'm just last week I probably spent like $800 at Target.
Wow.
Yeah, baby
Okay,
number 2, you're not even gonna buy diapers. You're just
I'm-
gonna be
I'm
like,
going-
get one of them Kroger bags.
See, okay, this is just funny to hear because before we started recording, Marty, you were asking Jesse about the joy of being the coach on your kids' like Little League team.
Yeah.
And so it seems like,
Perks. There are perks to having
you know,
kids.
you're excited about some things.
No, tax breaks. The tax breaks. I'm just throwing those out there.
Hey, speaking of, this was the last weekend. My kids and I've said this before, my daughter loves Taylor Swift. My son loves Patrick Mahomes. So they're big Chiefs fans and who are in the playoffs. Anyway, we did go to a basketball game. My wife, in solidarity with my daughter, who was wearing a Chiefs sweatshirt, was wearing her Chiefs sweatshirt. Anyway, we go in and I'm on the bench getting the boys ready to go dominate. And my wife takes a seat in the crowd. This is 10-year-old basketball. And some guy walks up to her and goes, "I just want to let you know you're going down. You are going down." And my wife took her seat and was like, this is the most aggressive 10-year-old basketball league I've ever experienced. And then she looked over and saw that they were wearing like Bills gear, and it was directed at the Chiefs, not the kids. But
maybe a little bit was directed at the kids, though.
Yeah,
Bills Mafia, you gotta stay out of their way.
Oh no, basketball is crazy. Like, I'll put it this way. So my kid was playing and something happened and I was booing the ref. I wasn't booing the kid.
They love that.
I was booing the ref. One of the parents.
Those volunteer refs love that.
So no, it wasn't even a ref. One of the parents thought I was booing his son. So now every time my son did anything, he like, boo, boo, like he's booing my son every time he touched the ball. So I had to walk over there to him and be like, hey, bro, like, what's going on? He's like, man, you booed my son. I was like, bro, I was booing the ref. Like, the last thing that these young black men need is two black fathers booing 10-year-olds, bro. Like, I'm like, cuz I would never boo your son. Like, he did, but it was just so intense, bro. Like,
Barstool Sports on IG literally like yesterday posted a clip from a 10-year-old girls basketball game, and it, like in the closing minutes,
I saw that.
They're at the free throw line, and this 10-year-old girl goes to shoot a free throw, and a parent yells, "You suck!" like right when she's shooting, like at a 10-year-old girls basketball game.
And you know who it is? Because the guy, like, instantly, the wife wanted to say something, was like, "Don't say a thing." Like, they all got stiff. Like, really quick, you see the dad, like, his whole face starts to get red.
It's instant regret. Like, even that guy's like, that was too far, wasn't it? I should not.
Too far.
He's like, dang.
It's too far. Anyway, we have a great show in store for you today. Coming up later, we talked to Brooke Ligertwood. She is on the cover of the new issue of Relevant, issue 114. It debuts on Monday. This podcast is coming out on Friday. And so we're going to give you a little sneak peek of that cover story with that conversation. Also, in this episode, Emily and I will give you a preview of the issue, kind of tell you a little bit about each of the stories coming up that you'll be able to see on Monday. Also, we have your feedback at the end of the show. You do not want to miss this. We asked you guys for the next Greg Daniels mockumentary idea, and you did not disappoint. It's hilarious. I can't wait for that segment. But stay tuned. Right now, up next, it's Relevant Buzz. You're listening to Gossip. The song is Real Power. It's a great song. Well, today's show is brought to you in part by Factor. Factor's ready-to-eat meal deliveries take the stress out of meal planning and set you up for success in the new year. You get to skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue, and instead get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. They have over 35 meals to choose from every week, and if you have dietary restrictions like keto or calories or vegan or vegetarian, they have all that. Plus, they have other add-ons and smoothies and stuff. I have been a Factor customer for a while now. Every Monday, my new box shows up, and I'm telling you, it's what I eat. Their chef-prepared meals are ready literally in 2 minutes. Well, right now, Factor has a special deal for Relevant Podcast listeners. You can head over to factormeals.com/relevant50 and use code relevant50 to get 50% off. That's code relevant50 at factormeals.com/relevant50 to get 50% off. Go do it. Well, Relevant has a lot happening this year, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter right there on the front page at relevantmagazine.com, and we'll send you our top 5 trending stories sent to your inbox every weekday. We'll also send you a weekly podcast newsletter with the latest episodes, some fan extras, and first peeks at the new shows that we're going to be rolling out throughout this year. Make sure to sign up. It's the best way to keep in touch with everything we got going on. Okay, it's time for
Relevant Buzz.
All right, Emily, tell us what's happening this week at the intersection of faith and culture.
Well, I'm sure you all saw the Oscar nominees were announced this week. Everyone on the internet has a lot of opinions, but a really big part of the conversation that I want to focus on is about who wasn't on the list, because 2023 was like a really good year for movies. I don't say that every year, but it was actually pretty good. But the nominee list like doesn't fully represent that. And I know like people get snubbed every year. I was gonna say it happens every year, but there were like some big ones that I do think we should talk about. The first one I want to get out of the way because everyone's already talking about it is Barbie. Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig were both snubbed in lead actress and best director categories.
Dang. That was a rough one.
But Ryan Gosling got nominated. So Margot didn't, but Ryan did.
Y'all are kidding.
But here's the thing. Like, I feel like acting is so subjective, and I feel like you can kind of go back and forth. But with directing, because like, here's the deal. If someone told me you're a film director, right? You can, and I'm going to give you X amount of dollars, and and you got to make one of two films. One is a book about a famous scientist, and one is a movie about a famous scientist, and there's a 500-page book that you can use as source material. Oh, and by the way, the centerpiece of the movie is the coolest thing visually you can put on screen, which are atoms destructing, right? Like, it seems relatively easy to direct something. Then someone says, hey, I need you to direct a movie. Here's all you got. A Barbie doll. Figure it out. Like, it's such a harder achievement to direct.
And her vision was substantive and moving and had layers.
They fought her the whole time. She talked about how they fought her the whole time. Like, they wanted to take out important scenes. Like, she fought for it and still didn't get it.
Yeah. So that one was really hard. And again, like, the directors that did make it, I see the argument for all of them, but like everything you just said, like Greta worked really, really hard. She had the most popular film of the year, which obviously doesn't mean anything. Like, popularity.
It does at the People's Choice Awards.
It does at the People's Choice Awards, but not at the Oscars. But I think it was also really upsetting because last year there were also a lot of really good films that specifically came from female directors, and I think people wanted more representation in that category from women. There was one woman who was nominated for Best Director, Justine Triet, for Anatomy of a Fall. Good for her. But it's just Greta, she deserved a spot. That's a hill that I'm very willing to die on.
Oscars So White. Is this year Oscars so male? Like, is it?
Well,
like,
they've always been male. So in the 96-year history of the Academy Awards, there's only been one year where two women have been nominated at the same time for Best Director.
Cool.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
So that's why a lot of people were also upset, because it's like there were a lot of really strong female director contenders this year, and the fact that they only picked one is hard. Now, again, the hard part is there's only 5 spots. So who do you kick off? It's tough, but
so who were the directors?
So Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer.
For Oppenheimer, of course.
Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon.
I didn't even know that movie was out. Did it do good?
It's on, like, literally right now. You can watch on Apple TV.
Yeah.
I bet. So like,
it is a heavy movie.
We could go look. I love Martin, but we can go and flip him out right now. Give me another one.
Derek, if you got 9.5 hours, man, I would strongly suggest.
Oh, cool. So, all right. So I mean, you got to keep Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer.
Sure.
Martin could go. I'm cool with him going. Who else?
Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things.
I knew it was
that movie was super weird too.
Like
that movie was so weird.
It was a weird one.
You could get Yugoslavia out of here. Who else? Get Yugoslavia out of here.
Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest.
I haven't even heard about that. What that is?
It's a Holocaust movie.
It's a foreign film.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You can't get the Holocaust out of here because of the times we in right now.
Yeah.
We keep Johnny Bravo in there.
Okay.
All right.
And then Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. She's the only female director.
Yeah.
That movie was all right. That movie was okay.
All right.
So it's
Greta, get Martin and Yugoslavia out of here and put Greta up there.
I mean, Greta was way better, but yeah.
This is not a hot take, but can we? There's not only are there no comedies, these are downers, man.
Yes, they're pretty tough to watch.
Every one of these,
but that's art. That's art.
But I'm saying art can be funny. Every one of these is like Oh my gosh, it's Killers of the Flower.
A guy who killed himself and an interview about his wife. That's Anatomy of a Fall. It's about like finding out why he killed himself, about how he's had a terrible life. It's just a heavy movie.
Oh, don't worry. You can sandwich it between one where a Native American tribe gets murdered for their land and a Holocaust film. I'm not saying they're all worthy.
They're all terrible. Sad stories. Terribly sad stories.
Can't we get at least just
get Martin Scorsese out of here and put Barbie up here, bro. How many more do he need, bro? He don't need no more.
He is, I think, officially the most nominated director of all time.
Yeah.
Yes,
wow.
man.
Tied, at least.
Put Greta up here, man. Give her a shot, bro.
Hey, you don't got to tell me. I'm on the Greta Gerwig train.
Is there anything more debated and then quickly forgotten than the Oscars? I mean, it's like after the Oscars happen, it's like nobody ever thinks about it ever again.
That's true. I forgot. Name the winner from last year. Best movie.
My point. Yeah.
I don't know.
Means nothing. Well, it means something. But
I can't remember what movie came out last year.
It was Fast 8. Fast 8.
That's what it is.
Is it the one where they wrapped Ludacris in tinfoil and shot him into space? Yeah, that one.
They retroactively gave it to Fast 5 just for that Paul Walker scene. It was like, we know this came out 9 years ago, but to be fair,
nothing's been better since.
When I'll see you again, been a long time. It's here still comes. We're gonna give it best Oscar for 2022 for some reason.
Is it me? But it feels like the movie industry is struggling really, really bad though. Like it feels like they're struggling on par with the music industry. It feels like, are people going to see movies? Because besides Oppenheimer
and Barbie.
Barbie broke $1 billion.
And so did Mario.
Still didn't get nominated? $1 billion. Wow.
And Mario too, yeah.
Well, hey, Marvel fans know how that feels. So, I mean, we killing it for a long time with some excellent movies and didn't really get nominated.
Is that? Did you use air quotes?
Bro,
when you said
you
that
don't
word?
like you don't like anything that. Matter of fact, you liked all those boring movies that's nominated with all
exactly.
The white
if it looks like a video game,
names.
I don't want to watch it. I want to play it. So it's like your Marvel movies look like video games.
Don't nobody want to watch your movie, no 10-minute movie about gum on the bottom of somebody's shoe and how it traveled from the landfill into. Don't nobody want to watch that, bro. Like you can watch that by yourself with the rest of your white male friends. As far as me, I want to see something blow up. Like,
Oppenheimer. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, and that's the only one that should stay is Oppenheimer.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the second year in a row, the best picture goes to Fast 5. Bring them on up. Come on up. Bring Vin Diesel.
Fast 5 and Fast 6. Both nominated in the same category.
Is Vin Diesel even invited to the Oscars? Like, has he ever been?
His first movie,
Boiler Room.
Also, Saving Private Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forget he's in that. Yeah.
He was nominated for Best Actor that has the name of a gasoline. It was a tough category.
He's like, that's not even my real name. It's Vin Gasoline.
Yeah, Johnny Two Cycle and Vin Diesel. It was.
All right, what else do you have, Emily?
Okay, well, kind of speaking of beefy men like Vin Diesel, I want to talk about
great transition. Emily.
No, this is a great transition. We're going to talk about Zac Efron because he was a beefy Lord Farquaad in the Iron Claw, and he didn't get a single nomination.
He deserved one.
So angry.
That was a great movie. That was a great movie.
Did y'all see Iron Claw?
I saw half of it and fell asleep, but I go to sleep at 8 p.m. So you gotta understand.
I'll give you that.
It's very sad. It's a very sad story. I started watching. I was like, "This is great."
You can't tell me that someone deserves to be nominated in a movie that you fell asleep on.
Marty doesn't
count. It doesn't work.
It's a true story. It's like the Bible. It's like I know what's gonna happen. That's number one. Number two,
you fell asleep on this man's acting, bro.
I bought the movie.
He do not deserve.
I did buy the movie.
Next topic, Emily. Marty went to sleep. It's over.
I did illegally download it on the Fire Stick. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Here's the pitch. Here's the pitch for that movie. Somehow we made professional wrestling unfun and boring. the one topic that's like, hey, at the end of the day, it's professional wrestling. How non-entertaining could it be? I mean, we found a way to make it sad and boring.
Man? What do we call this movie?
Iron Claw.
How do you make a movie about fake wrestling boring?
Listen, it's a real story. It doesn't like focus on the wrestling part. There's like a family. It's a wrestling family. The Von Erichs. True story. And it is like maybe one of the saddest stories. What's crazy is like the actual story is sadder, but the director was like, we actually had to cut out, like there's a whole brother that's missing from the film.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
you're really making me want to see it. Believe it or not, it could have been sadder.
You don't want to see Zac Efron going to sports clips?
He was incredible
Derek,
in it.
Have you seen the pictures where he's like super, super swollen? His hair looks like Lord Farquaad's got this weird like bang situation
That's
going
how
on.
they look too.
Oh my, you said he looked like Lord Farquaad.
Look it up on your computer real
like
quick.
A
Iron
Lord
Claw.
Farquaad.
Even the real, he looked like the real guy, and they would do Pizza Hut commercials. It's like a real story. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, this is the best podcast I've ever heard in my life. This is crazy. I'm
Long
looking
story
at him
short,
right now. He do look like Lord Farquaad.
He does. And any man that is willing to look like that deserves an Oscar nomination. Okay.
No, he don't.
All right, Emily, what else we got this week? Other than Oscars. Oscars no.
Other than Oscars, yeah. Moving on to music news. It's kind of the end of an era for music journalism. I don't know if y'all saw this, but Pitchfork, which is like the snarky music review site, is going away.
Whoa. Sorry. We can't. I don't want to reduce it to that. Let's pour one out for Pitch. I think that is the perception, but for a long time, Pitchfork was the purveyors of. They were the tastemakers. Now, I understand calling them snarky, but I also think it was. The paragon of taste integrity for a generation of music fans. Now you can disagree with their taste, and they had a lot of revisionist history over time. I think that was one of the criticisms about them. But at the same time, they cared more than anyone. And I think, sometimes that would come across as snark, but I do think, it is a complicated institution, but I don't want to reduce it to just their sharp elbows.
They done snarked themselves. They done snarked themselves out of business.
Did you work for them for a short time?
But Pitchfork was instrumental in the era that Relevant was coming up too. I mean, they were indie tastemakers. They made and broke careers. I mean, they really were highly influential. Yeah. And Condé Nast, who owns Pitchfork, is folding it all. They laid off, most of the staff. They folded it into GQ. So the brand's going away. Some of the writers will live on inside of GQ. But it really is the end of an era of music journalism, because like for 15, 20 years before Spotify playlists, music discovery went through gatekeepers like Pitchfork. You found out about new bands because of their recommendations, their reviews.
The blog era.
Absolutely. And it was huge. They started as a blog in the mid-90s, music blog, daily music news, and then, kind of became highly influential in the 2000s. And now it's over. It's not a sustainable business doing online music journalism anymore. So it's sad.
That is really sad, honestly.
Unless you're Anthony Fantano. That's the new type of person. It's one person instead of having a whole office of, people writing reviews. You have one guy saying it sucks, and then you move on to the next one. It's crazy.
I mean, but that's the thing is, like, for us, even back in the days of our print magazine, we would look to Pitchfork, like, who are they excited about? And then that would kind of guide us to dive into those artists too. And then we would find the ones that we love, So there's this like trickle down gatekeeping, taste making thing that just doesn't exist anymore, because everybody they have unlimited music discovery at their disposal, and there's playlists that are already curating, and the need for Pitchfork. Yeah. But sad to me is I was reading an article, like a profile with an artist not long ago, and I was just enjoying it, thinking, man, people don't tell stories like this anymore. Music journalism doesn't exist like this anymore, And it's like, that to me is what's sad, is like that deeper cut of artistry that you get to understand through music journalism there's no platforms.
Well, is
anymore.
it podcast now? Is that what it would be if you wanted to
guess.
get a deeper dive into the artist? Would be the podcast?
Maybe Zane Lowe is doing.
Zane Lowe is the best music interviewer I've ever heard in my life. He's from Apple Music. He does a daily show on Apple Music One. Zane is unbelievable. Ebro is great too on the hip hop scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple Dave Holmes. I don't know if you guys. He was like a VJ back in the MTV era. He wrote a really good profile on Post Malone. That was an Esquire recently, and Taffy, what's her name? Bro Dressner Ackner, like she wrote. I mean, she famous in our kind of circle. She wrote the I think it was a New York Times profile of like Carl Lentz back in the day during the Hillsong kind of peak. But she's done really great profiles. But to your point, Cameron, those people are few and far between. There's only a handful left that are really doing those.
And if the far between part, I mean, before is like you had brands like Pitchfork where you could look to for that stuff, and now it's like, where do you go for music curation or like telling the story of, the art? And it's like, I mean, yeah, it pops up randomly on other platforms, but it's like
they should have started a little or something.
Going to be hard to miss. I think what's going to be hard to miss about, or one of the things I'm going to miss about Pitchfork too is I know I called them snarky. I liked the snark, and I liked that they were really critical because as someone who I love reading profiles of celebrities and different stuff. I have noticed, especially in recent years, people are very generous to celebrities and musicians, which is not a bad thing. But something about Pitchfork that I really appreciated was it was critical for a reason. Like they weren't just being snarky to be rude. It was like, hey, like I know this artist could be better, or like this genre deserves better than this. And a
playlist can't do that, right? You can maybe find some cool new songs on a playlist, but the curation of elevating and demoting and like talking about it, like that to me is, I don't know, it's been valuable. I mean, it's been a big part of my.
They do have some of the worst. They do have some of the worst takes, though. I know. I just saw a post about how some of their album reviews, like they reviewed some like great, incredible albums, like the Frank Ocean album. They're like, that's a mid album. Like some of the reviews got a little weird at the end.
Who bats 1,000? I mean, for real though, I get it. I have some great
stuff. But it's hard to miss on a Frank Ocean album.
Like,
that's
crazy. I agree.
They said Take Care was like 6.8. They said like all the iconic albums that grew better, that got better, they would crap on them almost. Like all the Frank Ocean's albums, all Kanye West album, they said Yeezus was like a 4 point, which I would assume that they would like that because it's so forward, cool, hipster. Yeezus was very forward thinking, and then they gave it like a 3.8 or something like that.
There's a show on Netflix called Loudermilk. Ron Silverstone from Office Space stars in it. Yeah. It's pretty dark. It struggles with it focuses a lot on addiction, different things like that. But his story, the character story, is that he was a music reviewer for like Rolling Stone back in the day, 15 years ago, and now like because of the music industry, there is no job like that anymore. He was a writer and a critic. Now he's a janitor and he's just kind of like sloughing through life, right? But later in the series, he kind of like gets rekindled in his love for music and things like that. And he said, as this, the character, he said, I realized in hindsight when I was reviewing albums, like if it was an important, substantial album, like I hated it at first because it was new and my ears weren't tuned to what it was doing. If I liked it initially on my first listen, if I loved it, it was easy. It was disposable. It was forgettable. It didn't stand the test of time. And the character talks about like when I first heard Arcade Fire, like I gave it a bad review, but then 7 months later, I'm still listening to it and I'm realizing how genius it is. And I got it wrong. And so like now I'm thinking about the Pitchfork reviews under that lens where it's like, if you like it, it's easy. That's not a great album. If you don't like it, you have to wrestle with it. Maybe in time, you realize it actually is genius. Your ears just weren't tuned to it yet.
Which I think is why they went back a lot of times and did.
Yeah, they reviewed it all. Yeah.
Which is always really interesting.
Like I'm looking right now, Lana Del Rey, they gave her debut album, which was incredible, Born to Die. They gave it a 5.5 and now it's a 7.8.
That album was crazy.
The Daft Punk
album, I don't know how they got there.
The Daft Punk album that was like that literally shaped dance music was 6.4. Now it's a 10. Like they went back and they changed a lot of these different scores.
Yeah, but the thing about Daft Punk, Lana Del Rey, they introduced something our ears weren't tuned to at that time. And then it's like you sit with it and then you realize that this is brilliant. It's just new, Anyway. All right. What else do you have, Emily?
Going back to movie news very briefly, there's been a lot of new movies and TV shows that have been announced this week, but one that we're really excited about is a prequel series to The Book of Eli, starring John Boyega as a young Eli.
Oh, be cool.
The Denzel character.
I'm excited about that.
He'll be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I want to know what happened.
Well, I'm rocking.
Yeah,
it won't
we
get
don't really
nominated
know,
for an
like-
Oscar because it's black, but
Well, it's a TV series, so it's an Emmys.
So if you don't know, the Book of Eli is post-apocalyptic, 30 years after a huge apocalypse event, and he is blind, and he has this one copy of the book, and it's in Braille, so he's the only person who can read it and share what it says, and it turns out to be the Bible, right? Will this series, 30 years prior, explain how the most published book in world history had every copy destroyed except for one Braille version? Like, will it like...
they'll have to.
Because, like,
That's
where
probably
did
what
all
this
those
is
Bibles
about.
go?
Question number one.
It's
Okay,
a perfect
thank
time
you.
to talk about it. It's the
All
era
right.
right now of Handmaid's Tale, so it's a perfect time to talk about that.
All right.
Getting rid of Bible.
They have. If I don't know what the movie would be about, if it's not about,
It's a TV series.
Well, that's what... Yeah, it's a series.
yeah, it'd have to be something that shows about some religious war
Yeah,
or
control
The really-
something
something
crazy like that.
The only thing
Yeah.
we know so far is that it's set 30 years prior to the events of the movie, which means it's either right at the time of the nuclear event or like right after it happened.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
we will, I am assuming we will see, how did the Bible become the only one copy left? How did Eli become the post-apocalyptic disciple? How did all this happen? Because it's like, we need answers. And we're going to get
John Boyega.
Yeah, there's nothing like a good apocalypse movie. You know, it was like, did you guys watch Leave the
It's a
World?
TV series.
Behind
It's a
that-
TV series.
well,
series.
to your point, did you guys watch Leave the World Behind with like Ethan Hawke and Julia
It was good.
Roberts? Yeah,
Really good.
and what's his name?
Martin
Ali,
Lawrence.
Marshall Ali. Anyway, that was a great movie, but I was like, we're just getting started here. This could be a whole series. I want to watch
could.
how the whole apocalypse unfolded. I don't want to learn like the first day. Great, cool, But it's just getting interesting here. I'm glad they're doing a whole series on it.
I am glad it's a series too, because I think like if it was just a movie, I assume they would probably just have like a voiceover talking about a lot of things. And like with the TV series,
True.
I want to see it happen.
That's true.
I ain't gonna hold y'all though. I'm starting to not really be into the post-apocalyptic movies because they're starting to get too close to reality. Like some of these zombie, like it's like when they think about these zombie apocalypse, when you think about The Last of Us, like I'm like, that's a very feasible thing. Like this stuff is becoming way too feasible, which there's a disease that's airborne and everybody gets it. And then all of a sudden now everybody's sick. That's what I thought was going to happen during COVID. You know what I mean? I was terrified.
But there also, there has always been a history of really these crazy movies that have always end of the world. Like there's a movie called 1984 that talks about, bombs being dropped, really iconic. So I guess like there is an obsession with this idea, like what if it all ends? Like what if, and then it's funny because I think the movie we were just talking about is great because the girl's obsession with nothing that's happening and only obsession with friends is such a funny element of the movie that really tells like about society. Like we don't care. We just want to be entertained right now. Like she wanted to know the end of Friends. That's like the spoiler is like, that's all she wants to figure out. And the whole world's destroying and there's things falling from the sky. It's insanity.
All right, I gotta watch it.
It's worth it. It's worth the watch.
Yeah, it's a good watch.
All right. Well, that'll do it for Relevant Buzz. Make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every weekday where we're covering the intersection of faith, life, and culture. Thanks, Emily. All right, stay tuned. Up next, Brooke Ligertwood joins us. You're listening to Vacations. The song is Over You. Well, Relevant has a lot happening this year, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter right there on the front page at relevantmagazine.com, and we'll send you our top 5 trending stories sent to your inbox every weekday. We'll also send you a weekly podcast newsletter with the latest episodes, some fan extras, and first peeks at the new shows that we're going to be rolling out throughout this year. Make sure to sign up. It's the best way to keep in touch with everything we got going on. Well, our guest today is Brooke Ligertwood. She's one of our favorite worship artists. And spoiler alert, she's on the cover of issue 114 of Relevant, which comes out on Monday. We want to give you a preview of that conversation where we spoke to her about her latest solo album, What Lies Ahead, and what lies ahead for Brooke Fraser. Yeah, if you know anything about her former mainstream pop solo career, it's coming back. All right, here's a sneak peek of our conversation with
is out there. What has been one of your most memorable moments from making this album?
So yesterday we got to film some kind of acoustic versions of the songs with some of the team, which is something something kind of most people do, like every cycle you do some acoustic versions of the songs. But yesterday just felt like a really special day. We were in a studio that it turns out was kind of owned and run by just a beautiful man who is a believer, and just, I don't know, it felt, it was, you know how, I don't know, have you ever been like on film sets where with production crew where sometimes there's just like a slightly like quiet aggressive vibe? So there just wasn't that. So I'm saying there was not that. It was just like the most beautiful crew. It felt so just beautifully gentle, and so it already felt special. But then we were going to start record, and then the beautiful man directing the shoot from Worship Together, he pointed out this microphone, and he said, "Now this might not work audio wise. We'll try it. We might have to switch it out." He said, he said, my grandfather was Billy Graham's right-hand man, and this microphone was Billy Graham's microphone, and it still has the original ribbon. And he said, I've had it at my house, and he said, I've been saving it for when it felt like the right thing to have somebody record it on. And I felt like this shoot today, and you were the right person to use this microphone. What? And so we got to pray together before we started filming, and we kind of were all standing in a circle, but just naturally where the room was placed, that microphone was in the middle. And so I just kind of drew our attention to that microphone, and we just talked for a moment about what that represented, about the voice, the life of obedience that voice had spoken into, and also the words that had been spoken into that microphone, which is of course the gospel, and that it causes us all to pause for a minute and think about the heritage that we are all standing in, that actually none of us would be standing here if it wasn't for people like Billy Graham and the generations who have gone before us, who were faithful with the gospel in their generation. And it just became the perfect kind of framework for the whole day. And so we had a pretty special day yesterday. It was amazing. Yeah.
That is incredible. I have chills. And I love that you had a moment to kind of take it in and self-reflect in that moment. I'm curious, are you a naturally reflective person?
I think I'm naturally probably a pretty reflective person. And I guess I think a lot about what it means to live in obedience that is of consequence, and that we don't get to, like I was reading recently, like Dr. Charles Stanley passed away in the past year, and I was just reading a little bit about his life, and one of my favorite things that he used to always say was obey God and leave all the consequences to him. And really an obedience of consequence happens when you obey God without regard for the consequence, which I think is a pretty countercultural way to live. We're often we're often a real results driven culture, but what a beautiful and freeing thing it is to live a life of faith that really trusts God with the results, and obeys God and leaves the consequences to him. I think that's a really freeing thing. Yeah.
This album is really about living in obedience to God no matter what. And that's not always easy to do. Do you have any advice for someone who feels like God is leading them to something different than what they originally had planned?
Yeah, I would say you can relax a little. Like, I think that one thing is I don't think we ever have to question that we're called, because if God has saved you, He has called you, and we are all ultimately called to one thing, which is the Great Commission. But that looks like a million different things. And that calling, that single calling that we all have, which we are graced for, which we are filled with the Holy Spirit for, which we are led into, and which sanctification helps us kind of stay on track with that. That calling also can have in it multiple assignments. So you might be assigned for this season to be a kindergarten teacher, and then assigned, like I was a couple of days ago, I was with my friend Annie Downs on her podcast, and she used to be an elementary school teacher, and so she's an elementary school teacher, and now she's an author, and she's had different assignments in different seasons of her life, but one calling. And so I think sometimes we put pressure on ourselves to that calling means we have to choose one vocation or choose one thing that we do. And I don't know if it's always that simple. For some people it might be, but I always just think, like, I won't be doing this forever, but when I'm not anymore, that doesn't mean I'm any less called. I'm going to be the old weird lady in church, like going up to the young people asking if they need prayer, and that will be my assignment in one season. But I think we can just kind of, for anyone feeling kind of that angst about what is my calling, I think we can just relax into knowing that if we give our attention to just yielding to the Lord and getting to know Him more, that if we genuinely desire to be in His will, it'll be really hard for us to miss it. You've got to, when you're asking for it, it's actually really hard to miss it when it's the desire of your heart. Yeah.
What are you hoping people take away from this album?
I just hope that it increases a hunger for Jesus. I mean, that would be always the highest goal. I was with a friend a couple of days ago, and just talking to her about how I always leave her company like wanting to go and spend time with Jesus, and so that would be my hope for this record, that people can really use it in their own time with Jesus. And I've deliberately built into the album a few moments where there's instrumentals that are possibly awkwardly long, but I've deliberately done it because I want it, because worship also is a conversation. Worship is singing and speaking, but it's also listening. I think the listening part is so important in our conversations with God. So there's that space in there that I'm hoping people, like, that's the space where like pray your own prayers, like sing your own songs. But really, honestly, the whole thing just exists to serve you in your relationship with Jesus. Like, that's it.
I love the intentionality that you put into this album, that it's not just songs, but you're really like crafting and helping shaping an experience. Are there any albums that you listen to that kind of do the same for you?
Yes, definitely. I was listening to one of them the other day. Hungry by UK Vineyard, which came out in 1999, but it's just like, it's intense. It's like not an intense record, but I just that's a one that I always go back to. Hungry by Vineyard. What else? Metamorphosis by Delirious is one that I love. Gosh, probably so many. I'm a massive Sarah Groves fan. I love her, and it upsets me that everybody doesn't know and celebrate and like have her face tattooed on their faces, because she is one of the most brilliant songwriters and artists of our generation, and not enough people know about her. So I love Sarah Groves, pretty much every Sarah Groves record, but All Right Here was one of hers that I loved. Honestly, yeah, insert the name of every Sarah Groves record, basically. Yeah.
Well, you've given us 7 and now 8. Should we be expecting 9 anytime soon?
Yes. I've kind of started something at this point that I need to see through. So yeah, 8 is definitely kind of the beginning of me kind of putting together a body of work. I've got about 24 songs of the ones that I've written over the years that I feel stirred about to be able to kind of present to people, kind of crafted by my own hands. Like, I'm so honored. Like, I've been so honored to get to write even a single song that a church will sing would be like crazy, but like the fact that I have been able to be part of so many songs over the years, both through my own church community and then other church communities, has been the greatest honor. And obviously I do that, and it's a complete honor just to serve, and then they can do with it whatever they want. But now I feel really grateful that I get to kind of take some of these songs and kind of bring my own expression to them and bring them to life in a new way. So I'm excited about that. So yes, there will be 9 and probably 10, unless everybody like hates 8 and they're like, shut up, Brooke, we never want to hear from you again. And I'll be like, cool, got it, sorry, just gonna yeah.
That was Brooke Ligertwood. Make sure to read the full feature profile, sit down we have with her in the new issue of Relevant, coming out on Monday, issue 114. Check it out at relevantmagazine.com. All right, stay tuned. Up next, actually, Emily joins me to tell you a little bit more about that issue.
It doesn't make it better that I went first. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. If it happened to me, it'll happen to her. What the girls went through, yeah, they didn't deserve it. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it, no.
You're listening to Thelma Plum. The song is We Don't Talk About It, but what we will talk about is the new issue of Relevant that comes out on Monday. This is the perk of being a Relevant podcast listener. You get to know stuff before the rest of the world. So this is our Friday episode. On Monday, we are launching the new issue of Relevant, issue 114. It's going to be available if you've been following along in our digital era post-COVID. We put all the content available on the website. You can just click on the magazine tab. And if you're a Relevant Plus subscriber, you get a beautifully designed, enhanced edition sent to you that looks beautiful on all of your devices. It looks like the old print magazine, but with multimedia extras. It's wonderful. You should check it out there at the site as well. Okay, so Emily is joining me. The other guys, we made them take a coffee break so we could just talk business for a minute. We just want to take a couple minutes to tell you guys about... Yeah, good riddance. We were just going to tell you guys a little bit about the issue coming up. We won't take too much time, but just little teasers. So you look forward to what is dropping on Monday. As you know, Brooke Ligertwood is the cover artist for issue 114, and we're excited to talk to her. You just heard part of the conversation that is part of the cover story, but it is a fascinating talk about not only kind of what she's gone through with the stuff with Hillsong and, leaving the kind of collaborative band worship thing to launch out and to do a solo album, but even her teasing up that she's going to be going back to her mainstream Brooke Fraser music some point this year. This is cool.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. In the middle of the interview, she starts talking about her kind of new stuff that she'll be doing with Brooke Fraser, and she goes, "Ooh, I don't know if I can say that yet, but too late." And I was like, "Well, I'm excited to hear about it." So, yeah,
you guys get a sneak peek of that. So, also in the issue is stacked. We have 10 features, just like the print mag. We talked to Cold War Kids. This is literally the 20th anniversary of when their debut album dropped in 2004. They've done 10 albums, and this new one, which is self-titled, kind of enters a new phase for them musically.
Yeah, it was really cool to read about their story and just kind of see not only where they had come from, but to kind of get their perspective on how the music industry has changed and continues to change. It's really insightful. I think everyone will love it.
And little fun fact, Cold War Kids being an arena indie rock band, huge following, met at a Christian university. Did you know that? It's in the article.
How you do?
All right. We also talked to Corey Asbury, who seems like there's a theme here with artists coming out of the pandemic and stuff like that. All their new albums are like reinventions. Corey, more than most, went from being one of the biggest worship leaders around with Reckless Love and other huge hits to now he's kind of dipping his toe in the country pool. Maybe it's Americana, maybe it's a little folk, a little country, but it's definitely not worship music. We talked to him about that.
Yeah, it was funny kind of seeing him push back against the country Corey persona that's been put on him. But it seems like he's enjoying it. So, he seems like he's always going to have a good time.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah. If you don't follow him on TikTok, do yourself a favor.
You're missing out.
You should. All right. We also talked to, when you talk about your friends, you don't want them to hear you talk about them. So we asked Derek to leave this segment because Derek's in the new issue. He's in an interesting phase of his career where he doesn't really fit Christian hip hop anymore. He's making great music, but he just doesn't feel like he fits that mold. So he's kind of leaning into a new third way. He's calling it vigilantes type stuff. We talked to him about all that.
Yeah, I actually got to do that one. And there was a little bit of added pressure because I'm actually friends with Derek. And so I was like, this has to be a really, really good one. So I'm interested to hear what he has to say, but I don't want him to give me feedback to my face. You will not hear it on the podcast.
It's a good piece. It's good. And if you've been, following Relevant for these last couple of decades, you know that we don't fit the mold thing is our MO. I mean, that is our worldview. Like, we love the church, but we also can chew the meat and spit out the bones. We can see things that need to get better. We can see the cheesiness of the Christian music bubble. We just kind of navigate in the real world with a real love for God. God should be relevant to all parts of our life, not just the Christian sanitized version of our life. And Derek is kind of finding himself in that lane now. I feel like we've corrupted him successfully. So I'm proud of that.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. All right. We also talked to one of, I will admit, Emily was a little bit more starstruck than me, with Julie Chen Moonves, who I know as a news anchor, and I knew she was on The View or something like that. And she's just famous. Like, Julie. But Emily knows her from Big Brother. See, I've never watched Big Brother. Emily got a little starstruck about Big Brother, but something happened in her life in the last few years where she got saved. She was here on the podcast telling that story. It's a fascinating story. We go deeper into it in this feature. But Emily, you had, I would say, in the 24 years we've been doing interviews, the one-of-one experience at the end of the interview.
I did. Yeah, it was like the most pleasantly surprising thing. At the very end, she asked if we could pray at the end, and she prayed for me. And so again, like you said, I grew up watching Big Brother, and so to hear the Julie Chen voice say thank you God for Emily Brown, I had chills in that moment. It is absolutely probably one of the most memorable interview moments I've ever had.
Thank you God for Emily Brown, and congratulations on winning $1 million. You are the Big Brother. I don't know if that's how it goes.
That would have been the best interview.
Is that how it goes? I don't know. You are the Big Brother? I don't know. I watch Survivor. They say...
I'm going to let you think that. I'm actually not going to tell you what it really is. I'm just going to let you think you are the Big Brother.
You won. You're the Big Brother now. On Survivor, they say you're the sole survivor. So I don't know. You're the sole brother. Okay. Also in the issue, King's Kaleidoscope, one of the best bands that we know. We've been fans of them forever. More people need to know King's Kaleidoscope. If you encounter their music, you fall in love with it. It's amazing. So we did a feature with them in the issue because we're huge fans and you need to experience King's Kaleidoscope. It
really is surprising that they're not the biggest band in the world, because every time you listen to their music, it's just there's nothing like that. They're so unique, and it's unreal. And it's good. It's not just unique for the sake of being weird. It's this is actually very enjoyable.
Yeah. All right. Well, also in the issue, it's not just artists and Big Brother hosts. We also have faith leaders, thought leaders, other issues coming up. Mike Todd is in the issue. He has burst on the scene over the last few years. If you follow him on social or follow his teachings online or his Church Online Transformation Church, it has just exploded there in Tulsa. He talks a lot about relationships and other things. He's an author. So, we want to sit down with them because he's one of the leading voices right now in our scene.
It was really interesting to read the interview too, because I know a lot of people, they might be hesitant at whoever the big hype pastor is, but what he had to say was just really impactful. And I think even if whatever your thoughts are about Mike Todd, you're going to want to check out this article.
It's going to surprise you. Yes. We also talked to Need to Breathe. I mean, OG relevant band. I remember we started the podcast in 2005, magazine 2003. Sight and Books in 2001. I'm trying to think, maybe 2006. Right after the podcast started, they signed to Atlantic Records and they were opening for some tour and they came through and they were one of the first, if not the first band that came onto this podcast. And we said, hey, we should record you performing. And so they did a little performance in our little podcast studio back in, I think it was 2006, maybe it was 2007, but it was a long time ago. And they are now selling out arenas. It's crazy how massive Need to Breathe has gotten. You are welcome, guys, for launching you early on in your career. Tongue in cheek, making a self-deprecating joke anyway. All right. We talked to Need to Breathe. Also, they're kind of new era as well. I mean, they're like, the bands that stay keep reinventing themselves. They stay true to who they are, but they keep refreshing it, keep evolving. So it's not been there, done that. And their new project is case in point.
Yeah, it was honestly really cool too. I didn't know this until I read the article, but they actually inspired
you didn't
Jude
just
and the
read
Lion.
It. You did kind of edit, craft.
Helped a little bit.
Yeah.
But they ended up inspiring Jude and the Lion. So it's really cool to see kind of a lot of these, like you were saying, like these legacy artists and just seeing the impact that they've had over the years.
Yeah. All right. We talked to Rainn Wilson. You might know him as Dwight. By the way, I don't know if you guys have Peacock, but the Superfan Extended Cut episodes, they just released a new season. So they're up to 7 now, FYI. So there's a whole batch of new
I just caught up on the 5th and 6th one, so now I got to go catch up on the 7th.
I got a little Apple TV notice, like there's a new season of The Office Superfan. So I was like, yes. So I'm going through that right now. 6 and 7 is where it turns. 7 is where Michael leaves. You know what I'm saying?
You know what?
People hate 7 and 8.
Hates it, but
People hate 7 and 8.
But it is the introduction of Gabe, who is a very underrated, weird, hilarious character.
Agreed. Yeah, so that's going on right now. Anyway, Rainn Wilson's in that. He's also...
Yeah, we didn't talk about any of that.
None of that. He's also in the new issue of Relevant.
He wrote a book, actually, which is funny. The conversation started off with him saying, like, let me clarify why Dwight is writing a book, which I'm glad that he has that self-awareness that people equate Rainn Wilson and Dwight as the exact same person. But they are very different. Well,
and he, famously has done Soul Pancake. He was on the cover of Relevant back in like 2012, I want to say, when the original run of The Office was wrapping up. And we had a photo shoot with him at his Soul Pancake offices. And he's always been really interested in spirituality and how it affects our lives and all this stuff. Now, he has a different faith than we do, but I enjoy having conversations with people who see the world differently to learn from them, to see what I agree with, what I don't, whatever. And that is kind of what this conversation is about. It is about faith. It is about the importance of faith in our lives. So Dwight, getting deep. Also, last but not least, in each issue, we like to tackle a story that's a little unexpected. It's not marketable. It's not going to, work in the SEO thing, but it's important, and we hope that you read it. We wanted to look at, the stats are staggering, especially in certain cities, LA, San Francisco, Portland, others, where homelessness is a massive, massive issue. The housing crisis is a massive issue. And we wanted to find the stories of how churches are taking part in that fight to help those who are the most vulnerable. And it's a fascinating story of what some churches, especially on the front lines in those cities, are doing to make a difference.
we reported last year that 2023 was the highest rate of homelessness in the U.S. since the 2008 financial crisis. So it's affecting a lot of people, and it's hard to look at those stats and not be discouraged. But it's really encouraging when you speak to the churches that are actively doing something about it and are literally giving up the land that they own to build homes for other people on it. It's just really incredible, the work that they're doing. And I was encouraged. I hope everyone that reads it is too.
Yeah. Well, it's a good issue. And like I said, it is available for free, thanks to our presenting sponsor, The Covenant. You might have heard or seen those ads running on our website. It's a new epic Bible series that you can get on Apple TV. The Covenant is the presenting sponsor of issue 114 of Relevant. We thank them for their support. Go check it out at relevantmagazine.com. Just click on the magazine tab right there. And if you want to get the beautifully designed, enhanced edition, sign up for Relevant Plus. Plans are right there on the Relevant Plus tab. All right. Thanks, Emily. All right. Stay tuned. Up next, it's your feedback. You're listening to Hotline TNT. The song is Stump. Today's show is brought to you in part by The Chosen. Season 4 of The Chosen is coming to theaters nationwide on February 1st, and this season has everything. Clashing kingdoms, rival rulers, and when they're threatened by the reality of Jesus' growing influence, religious leaders do the unthinkable, choose to ally themselves with the Romans. As the seeds of betrayal are planted and opposition to Jesus' message turns violent, he's left with no alternative but to demand his followers rise up. So get ready, Relevant Podcast listeners. February 1st is the big release day. Go get your tickets now at thechosenriseup.com. Okay, it's time for your feedback. Last week, we got talking about the new Greg Daniels news that he's bringing back The Office, a new era of The Office. He's rebooting it in some way, shape, or form. They are in the writer's room right now trying to figure out all the details. No old characters, all new, something. It got us talking about Greg Daniels' mockumentaries and what he should do next. Like after he did the original Office, he did Parks and Rec, which is set at a small town city government. What other things should Greg Daniels' mockumentaries tackle? You hit us up on X at Relevant Podcast and wherever else we posted this question. Here's a few of our favorite replies. You guys came through.
These are great. These are great. I'll do the first one because phenomenal. I have an HOA board. So I love Alex Garza with the focusing on the HOA board. There is so much content there. As someone who pays $650 a month for my stupid HOA board.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
What do they do? Do they cut your grass? And
Where do you live?
Yeah, they do cut the grass. There's a natural.
Do they babysit?
There's only like 70 houses in this really boutique neighborhood that I live in, and then they cut the grass. They do all the roofing. They do all insurance and everything. So that's kind of compiled in there. So I don't really have to pay anything.
Right.
But
all right.
I mean, it's $650, guys. We're talking about here, and there's always fights on the calls. We jump on this monthly calls, and me and my wife are just like just to hear people it's the first Tuesday of every month, and just to hear people argue with each other and get pissed off. Like there's always something happening. Like right now, the big thing is that we have, even though it's gated, some like Jehovah's Witnesses have come into the neighborhood and they're like more aggressive. Like somebody let them in and they're just not leaving now. Like it's like, and so like people are really upset. And then there is a Jehovah's Witness. No, like
Do they live there?
No, they don't. They just figured out how to get through the gate somehow. I don't know how.
Okay.
And so people are fighting like who let them in, and I think there's another Jehovah's Witness from the kingdom inside there who let them in. I don't know what's happening, but it's an all-out attack on the calls.
Jehovah's Witness ninjas, bro. That's what it is. That's a movie. Jehovah's Witness ninjas. Like
twice. I'm not in a gated community, but twice a year I get get Jehovah's Witnesses, and they just came yesterday.
But this is the thing about the Jehovah's Witness that's starting to frustrate me now. Now I'm gonna keep it real.
Here it goes.
All right, look, knocking on the door, that's one thing. You know what I'm saying? But bro, I'm getting text messages from Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh wow.
Like
Unsolicited
just random text messages. Yes, unsolicited
They've moved
text,
into the digital era.
From Jehovah.
Yeah.
Yes, they have come into the digital era.
Report junk.
This is the thing. It's like, I had to delete and report junk. Like, I'm like, bro, it was like, are you ready for the return of Jehovah? And then it had a link to jh.com or something like that.
Wow.
Or jw.com. And I click, I'm like, this is Jehovah's Witness. Like, what? In my text? Come on, dog.
Savvy.
They own a
That's
lot
wild.
of big buildings in Brooklyn. When you guys go to Williamsburg, if you see a lot of those huge buildings that used to be newspaper and Jehovah's Witnesses, they purchased all of them. And I don't know what they're doing with them, but I always think about all the real estate and all the money that they make from this print magazine. And it's about time, I guess, that they jump into this new world. But I think the knocking on door is like I think it's expired, but I think it's biblical for them to knock on doors, right? Isn't that like a part of like their stick?
I think Jesse, it's on Greg
you were an
Daniels mockumentary.
Jesse, you were an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Tell us about how. Just kidding.
I welcome. Hey, man, listen, real talk. I know very little about their theology, but I have the same thing. My same things with LDS. If you're willing to go door to door, and that's how much you believe in your faith, like
Respect.
real talk, I do, because like that's very uncomfortable,
Respect.
right?
Yeah, it is.
And like,
But don't send no unsolicited texts. You knock on the door, just don't send the unsolicited.
Yeah, I don't have the same respect for blind text, but I would watch a mockumentary about the world of door to door religious proselytizers.
Beverly Brassfield says a senior center in a moderately affluent city. Follow the drama as they raise money for a local museum. Old folks with no filters would be television gold. And I agree. Yeah, that would be fire.
But
The
it's
King of
very
Queens.
similar to Golden Girls.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like, I was gonna say they've
that's
kind
true.
of already.
But it was
it's
good.
not
That's
the
a classic.
mockumentary part.
Yeah.
A
mad about
mockumentary
it.
in a senior center though, is
Yeah,
crazy,
would be
though.
good. The
in a
Abbott
senior
Elementary
center.
kind of vibe at a senior center with those quirky personalities and stuff. Yeah, I think that'd be good.
There's a love affair going on. There's two guys that don't like each other that used to play sports. Maybe they played for the same high school team growing up or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there's the quirky guy that only plays checkers. That's actually a genius, but he's like,
But we're not talking like 80 and up. We're talking like 65 and older, like Villages status, right?
No. The senior center, like in a normal city, like I'm thinking of like on King of Queens when they would drop Arthur off at the senior center because there was like functions each night or whatever. That scene. I want a mockumentary of
when
like
it's bingo night.
bingo
and all
night.
that
The
stuff.
senior.
Yeah, Better Call Saul season 1 status.
They want people. Really, it sounds like they want people to like tell it like kind of like cancel culture, like go above that and just be like, hey, tell it like it is how you used to. That'd be the funny part. It's like the dad off that one TV show, All in the Family. You know, like he's just saying it as it is. You know.
Ben Stroop told us that our mega church documentary idea was pure gold. So kudos, Emily. Ben Stroop co-signs.
Still copyrighted. I do want to talk about Dan Newsom's suggestion really quick. He said, I honestly don't think it'll work, but it is such a funny idea. He said Dunder Mifflin nighttime cleaning crew from 2005 to 2013 with Easter eggs from the Office episodes and occasional de-aged guest appearances from workers who stayed late.
That's a great idea. I would see that.
That's great.
That feels more of like a short. Like, I don't think you can make an actual series out of it, but that
You
is really funny.
occasionally saw the cleaning crew.
Yeah,
like
clean up the
occasionally.
cobwebs, right?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, when they stayed late and they locked themselves in the parking lot and the cleaning crew came.
It'd be like all
times.
Latin people. It'd be funny. I don't know. I just feel like it would be.
But I do feel like it's like
work.
10-minute webisodes or 5-minute webisodes. It's shorts,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Aaron has one that says something that hasn't been overdone, but that people are so familiar enough with to get the humor. How about a restaurant? We've had tons of reality and drama shows about them, but not really a mockumentary series.
I like it.
So basically, The Bear with Greg Daniels is what the suggestion here
No,
is.
that's fine dining. I think it's more like, what was that Ryan Reynolds movie where he worked at a restaurant? Yeah, waiting, or like, or even like the Office Space movie where she worked at a restaurant, a TGI Fridays type thing. I think it's like, exactly. I think it's one of those types of vibes, not the bear.
Or like a fast food restaurant. Like, I feel like there's definitely some stuff there.
Fast food restaurant could be dope. Like a good burger. Like Good Burger, but like a mockumentary or something along those lines.
I can see it.
Did that movie ever come out, by the way? Good Burger 2?
Sadly, yes, on Paramount Plus. It was the number one streaming thing on Paramount Plus for a day, and then it went away. Nobody knew it came out.
Poor Kel.
Very sad. Poor Kel.
Rough.
Yep.
He was camping on that for a while.
All right. Well, there's more where that came from. He was, and then it came and went. Nobody noticed. Oh, so sorry. All right. Go check out our replies. There's a lot more where that came from. Okay, it's time for this week's
editorial question of the week. Hey.
Well, at the beginning of the show, Marty was telling us he's sleeping 3 hours a night, and Derek said, "Don't worry, it gets worse. Your kid, as he grows up, will pee on everything." So here's what we want from you. Here's what we want from you is parenting advice for Marty. We want your best and worst parenting advice. Hit us up on X at Relevant Podcast, and wherever you see us, post the question, and we will give your advice to him on next week's show. Parenting advice for Marty.
That's great.
I like it. Well, before we wrap things up, we want to thank Brooke Ligertwood for joining us. Make sure to check out the cover story we have with her in issue 114 of Relevant, which debuts on Monday. Like I told you, just go to relevantmagazine.com, click on the magazine tab. It's there. You can read the contents for free. But if you want the beautifully designed, ad-free, enhanced edition, sign up for Relevant Plus while you're there at the site. It's worth it. All right. On that note, we'll wrap it. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Derek Miner.
I'm Emily Brown.
I'm Marty.
All right. We'll see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
Relevant Podcast Network.